What if I told you that the story you think you know about Lucifer's rebellion is only half the truth? That behind every whispered lie, behind every angel who switched sides, behind every moment Lucifer thought he was rising, Michael was already moving. Not absent, not unaware, not waiting for orders, active, positioned, watching, preparing. But here's the twist almost no one talks about. Michael didn't just show up at the end to cast Lucifer out. He was woven into the rebellion from the very moment pride first flickered inside Lucifer's heart. A presence Lucifer felt, a force he feared, and a role far more complex than simply heaven's warrior. Because what if Michael's role didn't begin with battle, but with restraint, with silence, with decisions that shaped the very fate of heaven? What if I told you that everything Lucifer did, every secret meeting, every deception, every attempt to rise above his creator, was influenced, challenged, or anticipated by Michael long before the first sword was drawn? And here's the real question that keeps people watching. If Lucifer was heaven's most brilliant mind, and Michael was heaven's greatest warrior, what happened when brilliance and power finally collided? Before we dive into this hidden story, this is Bible Mysteries. Make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Before Lucifer ever dared to question the order of creation, something subtle shifted in the atmosphere of the celestial kingdom. Angels didn't speak of it, not at first. They couldn't describe it, but they felt it. A tension, a pressure, a quiet disturbance moving under the surface of perfection itself. And unknown to them, far beyond the golden avenues and radiant courts, Michael was already aware. Not because he suspected treachery, but because he sensed a change in Lucifer, a change so faint that only someone who knew him deeply could notice it. People sometimes imagine these two beings as distant opposites, but the truth, they were intertwined in ways heaven rarely acknowledges. Lucifer, the light bearer, brilliant, expressive, endlessly creative. Michael, the guardian, disciplined, unwavering, resolute. Two parts of heaven's stability, two pillars of divine order, two forces that kept balance without ever needing to be told. But balance was beginning to tilt. Lucifer's admiration from the angelic host grew heavier, louder, almost intoxicating. His influence spread effortlessly. His voice could stir even the stars to shimmer brighter. And yet, beneath all that glory, something darker was awakening. Michael felt it. He didn't confront it. He didn't expose it. He didn't accuse. Instead, he watched. He watched the small, almost invisible cracks forming in Lucifer's once pure devotion. He watched the way Lucifer lingered after certain assemblies, eyes fixed not on God's throne, but on the reactions of the angels around him. He watched the pride taking shape, not openly, but like a shadow learning to walk. And here's the part most people never consider. Michael didn't move against Lucifer because his role wasn't to judge premature rebellion. His role was to understand it. This wasn't cowardice. This wasn't indifference. This was a warrior's wisdom. You cannot fight an enemy you have not yet defined. Michael wasn't waiting for Lucifer to fall. He was discerning the moment Lucifer chose to. But inside Lucifer, the conflict was intensifying. He still sang. He still led. He still glowed with breathtaking radiance. Yet every performance carried a new hunger, a desire for admiration instead of worship, a craving for validation instead of surrender. And Michael felt it growing. The other angels? They admired Lucifer too deeply to notice the shift. His charm eclipsed his corruption, his talent cloaked his pride, his leadership hid his restlessness. But Michael saw the storm forming long before it broke. And this raises a question every viewer should ask themselves. How do you confront a friend who hasn't admitted their darkness yet? How do you approach an angel beloved by millions, knowing the truth could shatter everything? Michael wrestled with that tension, not in anger but in sorrow, because he remembered who Lucifer used to be. He remembered the harmony they had guarded together. He remembered the unity they shared when heaven was overflowing with unquestioned peace. And now, he sensed it slipping away. Every instinct in Michael's being urged him to prepare, not for war, but for the moment Lucifer would cross the line no angel could return from. So he stayed close, not physically, but spiritually. He observed, he listened, he sought clarity, not confrontation. Michael knew something most angels never realized. Rebellion doesn't begin with shouts, it begins with thoughts, and thoughts become decisions long before they become actions. Lucifer was forming those decisions, quietly, secretly, dangerously. And Michael was tracing every shift from afar, understanding the pattern, following the arc of corruption like a soldier reading the movements of an enemy who does not yet know he has been recognized. Heaven still shone with splendor. Angels still sang. Worship still echoed across eternity. But beneath that perfection, two destinies were moving toward a collision neither could avoid. Lucifer rising in pride, Michael rising in duty, one reaching for a throne, the other preparing to defend it. And the question that lingers over this chapter is this: at what moment did Michael know that his brother had chosen a path that could only end in war? Because that moment, that single devastating realization, would shape the fate of angels, heaven, and all creation. Lucifer's shift didn't burst into heaven like sudden thunder. It moved quietly, like a shadow stretching farther each day, so slowly that only someone as perceptive as Michael could trace its path. What began as subtle pride now started taking shape in ways heaven had never seen before. Lucifer didn't gather followers by force or fear. No one would have followed him if he had. Instead, he used something far more powerful: his influence, his beauty, his brilliance. Angels naturally gravitated toward him, drawn like stars pulled by gravity, and he understood his influence so well, too well. Michael watched as Lucifer began meeting certain angels more often, not in silent rebellion, but in gentle, philosophical conversations that seemed harmless on the surface. He chose those who admired him most, the ones who considered his words almost poetic, the angels who saw him as a mentor, a leader, a friend. In these quiet talks, Lucifer didn't oppose God, not openly. That would have shattered the illusion too quickly. Instead, he asked questions designed not to challenge heaven, but to challenge their perception of heaven. "Isn't it strange," he would say with a soft smile, "how little we truly know about the depths of creation? Do you ever feel," he mused one day, "that there could be more understanding, more freedom, more purpose than what we've been told?" None of these words were rebellious, but they awakened something dangerous, curiosity mixed with doubt, and Michael saw it happening. He noticed the angels who once moved with pure joy, now walking with quiet contemplation, their eyes searching, their thoughts wandering, their hearts shifting in ways they didn't understand. Michael felt the ripple in heaven's unity. Not a break, yet, just a distortion. And because he sensed it, he began to keep a closer watch on Lucifer's movements. Michael wasn't spying. He wasn't paranoid. He was protecting heaven from a threat that didn't yet have a name. But Lucifer noticed Michael's gaze more and more. And for the first time since creation, Lucifer felt something he had never known in Michael's presence: pressure. Michael's presence was like a mirror, reflecting Lucifer's heart back to him. And Lucifer didn't like what he saw. Instead of turning back, he began to hide more. He became more strategic, more intentional. Conversations moved deeper into heaven's gardens, where the atmosphere softened and words felt safer. Meetings shifted to places where only certain angels wandered. Thoughts became rehearsed, measured, carefully wrapped in beauty so no one could see the poison forming underneath. Michael could feel it all tightening around heaven like an unseen cord. It was the beginning of influence becoming persuasion, admiration turning into loyalty, loyalty bending toward allegiance. The angels didn't realize they were drifting. To them, Lucifer wasn't stirring rebellion. He was simply expanding their minds, helping them understand more, encouraging them to think deeper. And Michael knew this was how corruption works: slow, subtle, disguised as enlightenment. But here was the greatest tragedy of this stage. Michael still hoped Lucifer could turn back. He didn't want war. He didn't want division. He didn't want to stand against a friend he once called brother. The thought of it pained him in ways he couldn't show. Angels don't cry like humans, but if they did, Michael would have wept. He remembered the bond they once shared in perfect purpose, and now that bond was unraveling strand by strand. Still, Michael didn't confront him, because he understood something Lucifer didn't. You cannot save someone who is still convincing themselves they don't need saving. So Michael waited. Not in fear, in readiness. He didn't prepare for battle. Not yet. He prepared his heart, his loyalty, his resolve. Because he knew where this path was leading, even if Lucifer pretended he didn't. And that leads us to the turning point, the moment where Lucifer's quiet influence crossed the line, and heaven felt the first true tremor of rebellion. The tremor in heaven became unmistakable the day Lucifer's influence stopped being quiet. It wasn't a loud act, no proclamation, no open defiance, but a shift in the atmosphere so sharp that even angels who never noticed anything before suddenly paused and wondered why everything felt different. Michael felt it first, of course. He had been sensing the buildup for what felt like ages, watching the change in Lucifer's eyes, in his tone, in the angels who walked at his side. But now that subtle shift was no longer subtle. It was a pressure, the kind that builds right before the sky breaks. Lucifer had moved beyond questions. Now he spoke with a tone that suggested certainty, a confidence that almost sounded like revelation, a conviction that made his words feel like truth, dangerous truth. He gathered small groups of angels in places where the light softened into gold. Not hidden away, not suspicious, no. Lucifer was far too intelligent for that. Everything he did appeared noble, innocent, reflective. He framed his conversations like discussions meant for growth, for understanding, for purpose. And the angels listened. They always listened to him. What made this moment different was the way they looked after he spoke. Eyes bright, thoughts racing, hearts stirred in a way heaven had never seen before. Michael sensed the shift like cold air against his skin. He approached one of these angels once, an angel who had always been joyful, always quick to laugh, always in awe of God's wonders. But now he stood alone, staring out across the endless horizon of heaven, as if searching for something he couldn't name. Michael stepped beside him quietly. No words, just presence. The angel glanced at him, startled, almost guilty. That was when Michael knew something had changed deeply. Angels weren't supposed to feel guilt, not in paradise, not until now. Michael didn't question him, didn't interrogate him. He simply watched and saw confusion swirling behind the angel's once clear eyes. Lucifer says there is more we haven't been told, the angel whispered, almost afraid of his own voice. He says knowledge grows, and maybe creation is just the first step. Maybe there are higher roles for us, higher destinies. Michael didn't answer immediately, because the truth wasn't simple. This wasn't about rebellion yet. It was about discontent shaped into something that sounded like ambition. And ambition, when it forgets humility, becomes a spark waiting for flame. Michael didn't rebuke him. He didn't threaten him. He simply said gently, "Not all that sounds higher leads upward." It was the kind of warning only Michael could give. Soft, but carrying weight deeper than any command. The angel lowered his eyes, troubled. He didn't fully understand, but he felt the truth in Michael's tone. That moment mattered, because it showed Michael something crucial. Lucifer wasn't simply influencing angels anymore. He was reshaping their identities. He was awakening desires they were never created to hold. Michael's heart grew heavier. He knew where this path led. Not because he wanted it to go there, but because pride always walks the same direction, away from truth, towards self. Lucifer's gatherings became more frequent, his words more convincing, his presence more magnetic, and heaven, though still shining with divine glory, began to feel divided, not visibly, internally. Some angels still adored Lucifer without suspicion. Others admired him, but felt unsettled without knowing why. A few sensed the wrongness creeping in, but they were too afraid to question him openly. And then there was Michael, standing in the middle of this spiritual tension, feeling the weight of heaven's destiny pressing down on his shoulders. Lucifer noticed him watching. Every smile, every glance, every gesture Lucifer made carried a new tension beneath it. a silent acknowledgement that Michael was the only obstacle he truly feared. Their interactions grew rare, but when they did happen, they were loaded with unspoken meaning. Lucifer's eyes would linger too long. Michael's expression remained steady, sorrowful, unwavering. There was no hatred between them. Not yet, but there was distance. A distance created by choices Michael didn't make, and Lucifer refused to abandon. And heaven stood suspended in a moment that felt like the calm before a storm no one had ever witnessed before. Everything was building toward the first open fracture, the moment where Lucifer would finally take the step he had been circling around for so long. The moment where heaven would no longer tremble quietly, but shake. So, the seed was planted. Lucifer's pride had quietly crossed the threshold from thought to belief. And belief, once it grows, becomes a lens through which everything is reinterpreted. And that's where things took a darker, more dangerous turn. Because for the first time, Lucifer began to speak. Not loudly, not boldly, not in a way anyone could easily catch. It began as a whisper, soft as drifting sand, subtle as a shifting breeze, aimed at the angels who admired him most. And the question he whispered was the exact question heaven had never heard before. Why should the throne belong to one when power could be shared by many? Now pause, because that sentence alone carried enough poison to shatter eternity. It didn't insult God directly, it didn't accuse, it didn't rebel outright. No, it introduced a possibility, a new world, a better order. It suggested that heaven could be improved. And when a being as brilliant as Lucifer plants a question, that question spreads like wildfire. Some angels brushed it off, some were confused, but others, those who always admired Lucifer's brilliance, found themselves caught in the gravity of his charisma. And here's where the tragedy deepens. Lucifer didn't sound angry. He didn't sound rebellious. He sounded visionary, hopeful, revolutionary, almost noble. He didn't promise destruction. He promised freedom. He didn't promise a coup. He promised a new way. And this is exactly why the deception worked. Those who followed him didn't believe they were rebelling. They believed they were moving toward enlightenment. And while these whispers spread across the heavens, Michael watched, not with suspicion at first, not with judgment, but with a heavy rising concern, because he began noticing angels withdrawing. He noticed confusion in their eyes. He noticed hesitation in their obedience. Heaven had always felt like a house made of music. Every angel a note, every note in harmony. But suddenly, Michael could hear something off, a discord, a misalignment, and every discord leads somewhere. And he knew, deep down, that Lucifer was at the center of it. But here's the part that still cuts deep. Michael didn't want to confront his brother. He didn't want conflict. He didn't want division. He didn't want a war. Michael wasn't a war general yet. He wasn't the commander of heaven's armies. He wasn't the angel of judgment. Not yet. Back then, he was simply a loyal, steadfast heart, someone who believed that unity could be restored if love was applied with enough patience. So instead of accusing Lucifer, he approached him softly, not as an enemy, as a brother, one who remembered him before pride, one who believed there was still time to turn back. But Lucifer was already too far. His charisma had become intoxicating, not only to others, but to himself. So when Michael questioned him, Lucifer didn't lash out. He smiled, and he said the line that changed everything. Michael, I am not rebelling. I am evolving. That was the first moment Michael felt true fear, not for himself, but for heaven. Because he realized something. Pride wasn't eating Lucifer. Lucifer was feeding it, and the whispers would not stop. They were about to grow louder, much louder. Heaven had always been perfect. Every note, every movement, every thought harmonized in a symphony of light. Angels moved with a rhythm that was both natural and divine, each pulse of energy reflecting the unshakable order of creation. And yet, under that perfection, a tremor began. So subtle that only one being could sense its magnitude: Michael. He had watched Lucifer for ages, studied him, Observe the tiniest shifts in his expression, in his tone, in the way his presence bent the attention of others. Michael didn't fear him. He respected him. Once he had loved him as a brother, as a kindred spirit, as the angel who had mirrored the best parts of heaven itself. But now, that reflection was fractured, and the cracks ran deeper than Michael had ever imagined. Lucifer did not rise with swords or open defiance. He rose with whispers, questions that sounded innocent, even enlightening. Why should power belong only to one? He would murmur to angels who hung on his every word. Is it not time to consider new possibilities? These were not accusations. They were seeds, tiny tendrils of doubt that wrapped around hearts too trusting, too eager to follow brilliance without restraint. And the angels, radiant and loyal, began to drift toward him. Not in open rebellion, but in silent curiosity. They were entranced, convinced they were simply seeking understanding. But understanding in Lucifer's hands became temptation. It became conviction. It became allegiance. Michael saw it all. Every hesitation, every glance that lingered too long toward Lucifer, every angel whose joy became quiet contemplation. And though he wanted to intervene, to speak, to stop the subtle corruption before it could harden into sin, he restrained himself. Because he understood what few could. Pride cannot be forced back by words alone. It must be recognized, confronted, and ultimately challenged at its moment of decision. Michael waited, not passively, not blindly, but with the weight of heaven on his shoulders, prepared for the inevitable. And so it began, the subtle, unspoken war. Michael did not strike, for the moment of battle had not yet arrived. He waited, he observed, he prepared. He studied the angels who were drifting, the choices they were making, the fractures forming beneath the apparent harmony. And every whisper, every doubt, every secret conversation became part of the strategy he crafted in his mind. Because he knew that when the time came, words would no longer suffice. Action would be required. Strength, resolve, and divine authority would have to meet pride head-on. The day finally arrived when the rebellion could no longer remain quiet. Lucifer, radiant, magnetic, and cunning, revealed his followers and his intent. The angels who had been swayed by curiosity and admiration now stood openly with him. The divide that had formed in silence erupted into a visible, undeniable schism. Heaven trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of truth. The conflict that Michael had been anticipating, preparing for, and restraining himself from, had arrived. And though his heart ached at the loss of what had been, a brother, a friend, a kindred spirit, Michael's duty crystallized. He could not allow the harmony of heaven, the order of creation, or the will of God to be dismantled. Not now, not ever. Michael stepped forward, not with vengeance, not with hate, but with righteous authority, with unwavering strength, with the full measure of his devotion to what was true and eternal. He became the anchor, the shield, the force capable of facing Lucifer, not with the emotion of betrayal alone, but with the clarity of purpose and the precision of duty. And when the first clash of wills occurred, the first open challenge to the throne, the first battle of hearts and angels, Michael's presence was absolute. Every strike, every command, every movement was infused not merely with power, but with understanding, with foresight, with the weight of knowing that this conflict would determine the fate of all creation. The war of heaven had begun, and at the center of it, Michael did not waver. He did not falter. He did not hate. He acted with sorrow, with clarity, and with the awareness that even the mightiest angels can fall, yet the truth must stand. And as the echoes of the first battle resounded across the infinite realms, the choices were made, the sides taken, and the story that would shape the cosmos for eternity was set into motion. Michael's role was never passive, it was never secondary. It was the fulcrum upon which the rebellion would tilt, the force that would eventually restore order, the presence that ensured that even in the darkest hour, heaven itself would endure. He had watched, he had waited, and when the moment came, he acted with divine purpose. And though hearts were broken, though pride had soared, though the heavens shook, Michael's unwavering devotion became the turning point. The reason the story of Lucifer's rebellion is not a story of complete destruction, but of balance restored, and the eternal reminder that duty, courage, and discernment are the pillars upon which creation stands. The tremor had become a storm. The storm had become war. And in the center of it all, one angel, Michael, remained steadfast, embodying loyalty, strength, and the sorrowful weight of knowing that even love sometimes requires opposition, and even brotherhood sometimes demands a stand that cannot be avoided.